David, wake up. Go.
What's going on, guys? I'm Phillip Woolgar, CEO Tech, and we dived into many topics. It was a long one, my longest interview yet, and go ahead and tune in, and remember to subscribe. All right, so we can do more great videos. All right, peace. What's going on, folks? We're back here with part two with Phillip Woolgar, CEO Tech, and we just have a little bit more stuff to dive into that we didn't touch on in part one. So he's here again. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing, David?
Good,
Thanks
good,
for having
good.
me.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, so we can dive right into it. If somebody's writing, let's say, a business plan, like what exactly goes into it? Like what is being written?
Yeah, so the business plan
Mhm.
really depends on what you're applying for. Like, so if you're applying for a business loan, most people who come to us are going for a business loan, maybe like a 50K loan. And they put the problem, solution, marketing plan, sales plan, the shareholders, like who is involved in the company, the growth strategy, the financials. So we usually put like 5 pages of financials in there. I mean, this is all stuff that you just need to formalize on paper, and it helps the company as well a little bit because it provides a blueprint. But honestly, I never created a business plan for my own companies in my life. I've helped create them for other people because they need funding, but I don't get loans for my business. I bootstrap everything, and I just basically write on notes, like on my like Word document or whatever, what's going to happen with my company, how I'm going to strategize it. But the banks need it formalized for the numbers. So the banks are heavy on the numbers. They just want to know you can pay them back. They just want to make their money. That's all they care about is the numbers, and to make sure that everything looks reasonable, like the business looks reasonable. A lot of people say, I've got a great idea for a business, and it's like pretty much exactly like Uber. And they're like, yeah, this is the next Uber. That's what I hear all the time is this is the next Uber. And it's never the next Uber, but everybody thinks it is. They want to make sure that you're a credible person when they come to you, and that you don't have your sights set too high. They get a lot of people who start businesses. It's hard to see objectively whether or not your business idea is good. You have to make sure that you get opinions of other people and that you don't sell yourself too high. People think that the idea they have, usually the most narcissistic people think, but everybody to a certain degree might think that the idea that they have is something that everybody is going to want to buy. But it's important to get feedback and not blow your numbers up too large, or the bank is just, they're going to say this is unrealistic. And it goes for investors as well. So the difference between the bank application, the bank business plan, and the investor business plan is the investors, you want to sell on your dream. Like, you want to have more visuals in there. I always let our clients know we'll get our graphic designer on it. We'll do our graphic design thing, and we'll blow it up so it looks like, the next company that's going to be $1 billion. That's what investors want to see. Has this got $1 billion potential? And if you can show that with realistic numbers, great. If you can sell them on the vision, even better. If you can sell them on your story, that's A plus plus. If they want you to be the head of that company and they like you and your vision, they're going to be on board. But it's important to remember as well, investors don't fund startups. It's very rare. And we discussed this as well last time, but you need to start the company with either a business loan or bootstrapping it, or possibly a grant, and then get it up to 10K in revenue. Once you get that 10K, then you can go to the investors and you can say, hey, we're making 10K revenue. This is our vision. This is why we need you involved. If we can get you on board to buy us 500,000 inventory, we've already got the channels. We've proven we can do it with this 10K. Here's the math. Now that's something that investors can jump on board with. Here's how we think it can get to $1 billion. If we're just in the US or Canada right now, imagine if we go to the UK, imagine if we go to Australia, and your investment will potentially get us there. So bank loans, numbers, investors, the vision, the $1 billion potential. And then there's a third category, and that's for grants. And for grants, they want to see that your business is going to address the grant concept, the social impact that they designed the grant for. So, for example, if it is to hire more people, like hire, for example, there's grants for hiring women or for women entrepreneurs, and hiring people in general. I shouldn't just say women. It's that there's grants to hire people, or there's grants to refurbish housing, or there's grants to improve technology in Canada. It's heavy on hiring in Canada and try to create something that builds technology. And so if in your business plan, you can show this is how that's going to happen. With your $100,000 investment, we'll be able to create 10,000 jobs, for example. So that's what they're looking for with a grant plan. They want heavy emphasis on your ability to actually get their grant concept in front of the economy, in front of society, so that they can make real substantial change. And so that's the difference between those three types of business plans.
Okay. Um, I know your business is about getting the right people to get the job done, like writers and so forth. So I want to know what is your part in the business, or you just kind of chill out and manage everything?
So right now, my business that's doing the best is academic assistance, and it's always been that way since I started in 2012. And I blew that up to the point where it can't get any bigger. Like that's I mean, it could probably get bigger if things like Google decided to rank us higher, like we had been, or if other marketing strategies are able to come through and grow it more. But I pushed it and pushed it. So I pushed the marketing with that. Um, Over the last 10 years since it started, I really created the sales funnel that's so automated, from the point where I'm putting an ad up and I'm actually doing the writing and I'm actually doing the talking to them, to the point where I'm basically handling emergencies, where my assistant is like, the website is down, and I'm like on the phone with the developer asking him to get it back up. So I make sure that the whole thing doesn't fall apart, because this stuff happens in business, like especially with the websites. Just last week we had the website go down, and I didn't know what was going on, and so eventually we discovered there's a storage issue, and so we had to increase the storage. So my role in that company is, yeah, I take a look at the quality, I get the ads up and make sure that things are automated, but I don't pay a marketer $5,000 a month or whatever. 10% usually they ask for is 10% of total ad spend, with a minimum 2K per month for a decent company. Things like that. They basically put the ads up, and they might tweak it a little bit, but they don't have the heart into it. A lot of entrepreneurs believe that you have to do your whole marketing strategy. So basically, for that business, quality assurance, making sure things aren't falling apart, and maybe I spend like 30 minutes or an hour a day on it. We received some offers to buy it, but the offers weren't good enough. Um, so there's that one. For the Right Pal business plan writing one, that requires more expertise that you can only really get from somebody who's actually created a business. So I take calls for that, because those are larger ticket items. Like that's like biggest business plan we had was like $3,000. The average is probably 1,200 or 1,000, and then the smallest is like 500. So I'll answer the calls for those, and then I basically assign our accountant, I assign our writer, market researcher, graphic designer. We get that up on Basecamp, on Live Plan, to help with the software development. Everything's on the software, so it's in one place. And then I just basically am the project manager for those. So that requires a 15-20 minute conversation with the client. and then 3 or 4 emails and talking to developers. That's pretty much it for that company.
Mm, okay, okay. Nice, nice. Um, I want to ask my next question. Kind of slipped through my mind, but do you set goals for yourself? Do you set goals for your business as well too?
Yeah. Like what I realize is that my goals have been so pathetic. Like, Grant Cardone, the social media guy, he invests in real estate. He is this 10x guy. Just read his book,
Yeah.
and the regret he owns a 1.4 billion dollars of real estate. I don't know if that means he's a billionaire. It doesn't necessarily, because he owns that. Like, I own shares of Walmart, for example, or I own shares of Alibaba. So technically, I own Alibaba, but doesn't just because I own like 0.1 millionth of a percent of it doesn't mean that I own the value of that, the market capitalization of it. So he owns 1.4 billion dollars in real estate. I think he's probably worth a few hundred million. And he says the biggest regret he had is he didn't set his sights too high. Because when I was working as a journalist and making peanuts and working my butt off, I thought, wow, if I had my goal was actually 100,000 at that point. I had this chart, my first chart I made, $100,000. It was called Road to 100,000. Started out at like $3 when I made that. That was when I was 28. And I became a millionaire when I was 31. And so it was 10x from what I actually set out to do in approximately like 2 years less than I set out. I was going to do 100K in 5 years. And that's what motivated me to start learning about how I could actually make that money. And the first book that I read, I can't even remember what it's called, but it told me to take my skill and market it. And what was my skill was writing. So then I put some ads up and people started coming to me. And then the rest is kind of obvious in business. It seems complicated, but if you take it one step at a time, it's sort of obvious. Like, so you get your skill, market it. I had free ad option at that time, Craigslist, put some ads up, got a client, and then did the writing. So then you get more and more clients and you can't keep up. So what's the next logical step is to hire somebody. So I had like contract writers, and then wait a minute, I see a pattern here of how they're onboarded. I don't really want to like go through the process of like sending them an invoice and all of that. So created the structure for a website. So that was kind of obvious. Like, instead of having them order through email, I created an order form and I get a developer to create that. So it's you got like pretty obvious as it goes up. If I started out as a coder, like website coder, the potential would have been so much greater. But the potential for a writer who normally makes enough to just get by on is pretty limited. If I took another skill like creating tech companies to the max, I'm pretty sure I would be a billionaire. But because I took the writing profession, I focused all my energy on that for 10 years. I maxed out on writing, and that's only, it's a multi-million dollar, in the low multi-million dollar ability to make money. So that was the mistake I made. If I set my goal for 100 million, maybe I would have come up with the ideas to be like, okay, what's the market for writing online? And I would have thought, well, okay, let's just shift that over to a service industry. And it took me like 7 years to figure that out. So I switched it from writing to how can I use that same website code and have somebody do something in a big industry like house cleaning, for example. And then so we created a house cleaning website with the same code that we had for the writing website. And the number of clients you can get for house cleaning is like, that's a $100 billion industry. So if you get a percent of that or whatever, that's $1 billion company.
Wow.
Same with, so we created a handyman website. And then at that point, there's some complications in my personal life. I went through a divorce and whatever. So I offloaded those companies as a, split from in that. So I kept the Right Pal, the more stable companies, and those ones were pretty new. So I got rid of those and liquidated them, and then did the settlement that way. And now what I'm doing is, my goal now is to continue what I was doing. So I've maxed out the academic one. I've maxed out, maybe not maxed out Right Pal. That's only been a really big effort for the past year or so, or year and a half. But I don't see a ton of potential there. It's something that, you can make several $1,000s at, but I don't see it being something totally automated that can make, $1 million a month or whatever. But I'm now just launched a tutoring website, and I'm about to launch a nanny website. And those ones those have $1 billion potential. But my goal right now, up until a few weeks ago, was 100 million, not because I want to have like 5 mansions or whatever, but because I think that there comes a point where you have so much money that it doesn't improve your quality of life. And I think that if you have the money put in the right direction, like humanitarian things, things with meaning, that it's really important for me is setting people up to have a good life, children in particular. Probably I'm more focused on that because I've got a daughter. She's a toddler, and she has a lot of opportunity, and there's not every kid in the world that has that. So I want to my goal is to create an organization called Chance, which stands for Caring Hearts Always Nurture Chances Equally. It's an acronym. And the goal is to provide equal opportunity to people throughout the world, particularly children. This would mean bringing schools to underprivileged countries, and even domestically in Canada and the United States, making sure that kids in underserved areas are given the proper opportunity for excellent education, and focus that education not in the way that the public school systems are structured right now, but to structure it in a way where they can make a really incredible impact on the world. Not learning about the Big Bang Theory and all this, math that they're never going to use again. I want to give them life skills and discover their talents so they can take those to the next level. Maybe there's some kid in Ethiopia who's going to be the person who solves ocean pollution or climate change. You never know, because he's never been given the chance. And to do that, I thought I needed 100 million. But since reading Grant Cardone's 10X, I'm now thinking 1 billion. That's my goal right now, is 1 billion. And that's something that I'm going to achieve, because I think the world will definitely benefit if I get that money.
Wow. When do you want to get the $1 billion by? What year?
I haven't set that. I used to think that it would be a great thing to set a year, but I think the key with setting goals is the mentality shift. Since I've started thinking $1 billion, I've come up with way better ideas, and I've been pushed way harder, and I've been making decisions based on, okay, I could do that, and maybe that'll make me like an extra 10K a month or whatever, if that works out. But why don't I think differently? Why don't I think bigger? So now I'm starting to see different opportunities. Like, there's this abandoned mall here in Boynton Beach, close to Delray Beach in Palm Beach County here near Miami. And I saw there's this empty area where Sears was. All the Sears shut down. I'm like, and then I remember my friend one time, he would look out kind of for those places when they come up, and he would call up like Home Depot or something. He'd say, hey, you guys, there's this abandoned place. You could probably lease it and open up a new store there. And they cut him a check for like 300K. This guy had like 80 million. I knew him back when I lived in Mexico. And so now I see something like that. I'm like, okay, maybe I can do the same thing. I see this abandoned mall pretty much, and there's like all these issues in the community. The city wants it, business to come there. The people in the community want business to come there. The other stores in the community want business to come there so their business can increase. And before, I would have just driven by and be like, oh, everything's moving on to Amazon. But that's not the case. The case is there's stores like mattresses. Everybody wants to sleep on a mattress, or they want to test it out. They're not going to buy it online. Or Home Depot has all these stores. People need to go and they need to look for the proper tools and whatever. So I called them all up, which I wouldn't have done normally. I'm not a salesperson, and I talked to their leasing company. And I was going to get the square footage to take to Home Depot, figure out their requirements, and then be the middleman and hopefully get my $300,000 check. So those are the kind of steps I'm taking. It didn't happen because they're tearing it down and redeveloping. But my point is that it causes you, when you think that big, when you think 10x, it makes you make decisions differently instead of focusing on something that'll be spinning my wheels, like probably I was with the academic site for 10 years, even though it supported me and it's great that it happened. If I'd focused on something else, something bigger, then that might have gotten me to that $1 billion already. So about setting goals, it's not really about a timeline for me. It's about the way I'm thinking. So if it comes when I'm 80, that's great. If it comes when I'm 90, that's great. If it comes when I'm 50, that's great. If it doesn't come at all, probably I'm going to get a lot closer to it than I would have if I didn't set that massive goal in the first place. So it's about a mentality shift for me. And it's the reason why I'm doing shows like podcasts and why I'm trying to get out there more. That's another decision that I made based on my 10x mentality now, it made me realize people who are doing business with companies are now doing business with the owner, essentially. If you put your face out there and you earn their trust and they recognize you and understand you, then when they go to your website or whatever, they see, oh, that's his website. Same thing with Elon Musk. I'm going to buy a Tesla. I know Elon Musk, he's famous, and it makes the brand famous. So my goal is to become famous. If I become famous, how can you not become a billionaire? If you do it right, if you're a business person and you become famous, that's why Elon Musk did it. That's why a lot of entrepreneurs have built a lot of credibility through talking in the public so that people come to their companies. Otherwise, I bet you those companies would not be nearly as successful as what they are right now.
Okay. I guess I can be your public relations guy for you if you don't have one.
I don't have one.
Okay. Well,
Actually,
we'll
you're the
talk.
first podcast I've been on.
We'll put you out there on TV. Make it
Yeah,
happen.
make me famous, David.
Absolutely. um yeah, so back to the business plan. So let's say a kid is like a 20-year-old, doesn't have that much money, and he has a really great vision, but he can't pay for the business plan. He can't pay for your services. It might be like a couple thousand. What can he do? Well, what's the next step?
$20, go on live plan, go on free ChatGPT. He can type in there whatever his business idea, say create a problem, or just create the business plan. Here's the information. They can just write, like, even if they don't have to write, they just put up notes or whatever, and that's the crazy thing about it. And that's actually why my business for business plan writing and writing in general has taken a hit. Probably about 30% down, because people are using that as opposed to going to an actual writer. So writers are in a lot of trouble. But yeah, I mean, if you don't have money, that's even, I'll recommend that to people on the phone. Like I don't want to.
What's the name? What's the name again? Can you say it again?
The software or the AI, the ChatGPT.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Do you know this one?
No, I don't know.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. I
No.
mean, ChatGPT, you should definitely check it out. Even if I use ChatGPT for anything, like if I'm going through like personal problem or whatever, be like, ChatGPT, my daughter doesn't talk to me anymore. It could be your therapist, like just as a funny example. Or if what else I use it for? You can use it for a lot of different things, but if you use it for writing, it looks like a robot wrote it. So I don't recommend it for anything related to academics, but if it's a business plan, the bank loan officer might actually thank you for it because it's a lot more articulate and it basically gives them the information they need. And at the same time, for that 20-year-old business person who wants to be a business owner and doesn't have much money, that's going to save them a lot of money. And I tell that to people who call me as well through my company, and they say, I can't afford your service. I said, no problem. You can go here. It'll give you something that resembles, what you need to have. It won't hit all the marks because it's AI and it doesn't know the nuances. But ChatGPT is crazy smart. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I would definitely check it out. ChatGPT, you can ask it anything,
Chat
anything,
GPT.
and it'll tell you.
Chat JPT.
GPT,
Oh, GPT.
ChatGPT.
Okay, okay. I'll check it out. I'll
Yeah.
I'll write it in the comments down below
If you want to
after I
write
post it up.
a love letter, man, it can do
Mm,
anything. It's not just about writing,
mm.
it's about anything. It's
Wow.
like, how do I make $1 billion? It'll give you you know what? I even asked it to write me a Seinfeld episode just because when I was testing it out to see its efficacy, I just wanted to find out if it was like funny or it could have emotions or whatever. And I asked to write me an episode about George Costanza losing his wallet, or in a Seinfeld type episode. It wrote it out in like 20 seconds, and it was pretty funny.
Wow. Yikes. AI
Yeah,
is taking people's jobs, huh?
coming for us, coming for us.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how I can leverage that though,
Yeah.
because 90s people like Jeff Bezos put up Amazon because he knew people are going to shop online. Everybody, I remember in the 90s, I was pretty young, but I remember people like, nobody's going to shop online. Like, I don't want to put my credit card online. My mom still says that, right? I don't put my credit card online. Like, older folks do that, but now everybody does it. Like, to the point where Sears is shutting down, everything shut, a lot of those stores shut down. So, if you can see what's happening, like things that people are kind of like shying away from, saying that's never going to happen, like what's AI, that's never going to happen. It's going to happen. It's happening. So if you can leverage that and be one of those first movers, like I was chatting with somebody about creating a AI robot to tutor people. So I have this tutoring website. I thought, well, what if I get a cheaper option where you can get tutored by a robot? And so that's something that we could be developing. I mean, that stuff's real. The technology is there. And so if you can leverage that, that's $1 billion idea. If you could create that robot, if there was somebody who could create that, which there are, and I think they quoted me like 6K to build it. I don't know if they would have been good. I've never worked with them before, but um, if you leverage that new stuff, then you could be the next billionaire. Most of the billionaires, a lot of them right now, are the ones from the 90s who were, they were the nerds in the little office or the living room, like creating websites. And I said, I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm too cool for that. I wish in the 90s I was a computer coder, because those guys are the ones who are now the billionaires.
Mhm. Wow. Okay. And for your tutoring business, do you like hire tutors and then people go on the app and then get a tutor, or like what type of material or classes are the tutors teaching?
That company, we've got the phase one completed, and they would tutor on anything. But what we've done, because we don't want to invest too heavily in it before we've proven the concept, is we've just created the pilot program. We marketed it. We're marketing it right now. It just launched 2 weeks ago. We're just collecting data to see if it's worth doing the full scale build out. So what we did, we basically built the front end, got people to the point where they click subscribe. Whenever somebody subscribes, we're notified. And so if the number of subscription requests is more than the marketing costs, or at least comparable, then we'll go on to the phase two. But what it will be would be you can get tutored on anything. It's not a new concept. There's other websites that do it, but this is, you can improve on what they're doing, or you could just jump on the train and start making a profit like they are. The thing about it's a beautiful thing, because it's a subscription service. With a subscription service, this is a very, very profitable model, and it's completely hands off. And we can take what we currently have with the writing site, we can put it on there and then clone that and create other service type industries, type websites. So that one, we have a total of no tutors and we have no clients because we just put up phase 1 for it. And once we see the reception, then that's going to give us the indication to go out and build the rest of it, and then start making those actual real transactions for it. So we're just paying for marketing right now. And so far we've had a few people sign up, and it looks like we're ready to hit the button that will put steroids into our ads and create a really big flow of people coming to our company. And then we'll have that transaction process happening and fully scaled out. And that one will I know that one is going to make a lot of money. So I'm excited about it. The testing so far looks really good.
And do you, do you have to be like a qualified tutor, or you can just know something, you're good at something, and you can just, teach it or tutor somebody?
Yeah. So when we put the ad up for tutors, we need to make sure they have some relevant experience. So we put an ad up on Indeed, and we can use AI to filter out the applications that have some tutor experience or teaching experience in some capacity. And then they have to submit the resume on our website. And then they can select up to 5 subjects that they can tutor. And basically, the community will speak for itself through star ratings, but we check their resume, and we're still considering doing some testing on them, like interviewing them. But to streamline it, like, you want as many people as possible coming in to make that into $1 billion company. You just have to have it so streamlined that people are just going to keep coming in, and you don't really have to do too much with it. And then same thing with clients. Basically, you got like a faucet of tutors flowing to your page. They can register themselves. Essentially, we have a VA who reviews it, approves them, and then the system takes care of it after that. And then the same thing with clients. It's just like a funnel of people coming in through our marketing, just the traffic, just blow up the site with traffic, have 1% or whatever register, and then hopefully 25 or more percent of those actually subscribing. So they get a free version, but if they want to actually chat with the tutor, they have to upgrade to like $38 a month plan, or if they get the annual, they pay like $12 a month or something like that. So we do have some checks on them, and how far we're going to go with those, how deeply we're going to go with those, we don't know. But for our nanny website, we have a crazy number of checks. We created a 11-point safety check, because the nannies are actually dealing one-on-one with the children in person. With our website, it's tutorstreamer.com. So we're just streaming tutors. They're just meeting online. So you won't have to like filter them for like people with the criminal records and stuff like that. Or like sex offender check, or, driving record check, and all those things. These are all the checks that we do with the nannies, because I'm not going to put a kid in the same room of somebody who I don't know absolutely 100% that they're like legit, like they're not criminals, and they're not going to be, there's a lot of freaks out there, like with children. So you want to make sure that you're really checking those people. But with tutoring, is definitely something that is a lot easier to bring people on. We just want to make sure they're smart and they can actually teach the thing that they say they can. And then that's pretty much the only real check that we need for that one.
Okay. So would I be able to teach podcasting on there?
Sure, 100%. We'll put that up as a course, actually, or as an option for them to. I don't even have that on the site. But if we have them come in, we can even promote podcasting with David Oturo. So Oturo, right?
Yeah, Oturo, yeah.
You can even put the ad up. They click on it. We got your face on the website, and they click subscribe.
Cool. Yeah, we can make that happen too. Yeah. Okay.
Gives
Cool.
me an idea, actually.
Yeah.
With the courses, there's so many different courses now that we could actually have people come to that website who are looking for courses. If they're like Googling podcasting course, they could hit up the page and we could have podcaster tutors on there. And you can back end that to one of your courses. You can create it with like ClickFunnels or something. Create a course for podcasting and get people through that. People charge a lot of money for courses, so that's
Mm.
possible for
Okay.
you.
Okay. So it's almost like I got my own business on the website.
Yeah, like an offshoot of it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. And yeah, you're giving me ideas too. As you
Yeah,
speak, you're giving me ideas too. Yeah, it's good.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, like, courses you can make a lot of money with those, for sure.
absolutely. And the good thing is, you can record it or however you want to do it. And you don't have to be there too. They can just, boom, watch it on their own and so
Seamless.
forth. And I know some that, do that. And if they want to, talk to the person, there's office times that you can talk to the person, ask questions and so forth. So yeah, I mean, there's different ways to do it as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, how far is the nanny business? Are you guys
it
started
might.
already? Or
Yeah, it might be ready to launch next week, or it might be like next decade at this point. We've been trying to get this website up for so long. That's the frustrating thing is when you see like it's so close, it seems so close, but you keep going for revisions over and over again. And we actually launched this website like 2 years ago or something like that. And we were making $45 a month. That was our profit. It was $45 a month. After everything, we had like I think 3K in revenue and like 2065 $2,965 in expense. So we had like $45 in profit. And so I'm like, you know what, shut this down. It's not worth my time. And we restructured it and everything so that it's more automated. But we've been trying to get that website up for a year and a half or 2 years, more like 2 years. And there's just so many problems with it. And so I sent it to a new developer to fix all the bugs. And that's been like a year. They launched it 6 months ago. We figure out there's more bugs. So now we're just on this roller coaster ride still trying to get this website up. And it's just and it looks like it's ready. They're like, okay, it's done. And so I debug it and I go in and I find new problems with it. And then they have to go back and they have to redo some things. So I don't know when that's going to be done, honestly. But the tutoring website is so much more straightforward that I've totally changed the structure of these service industry websites. And that website, it got up in 3 months, whereas the nanny site's we've been going for like 2 years. We're trying to get that up. So it's a lot to do with how you structure it. And with the nanny site, we're kind of trickling them in. We're kind of like holding their hand to get them into the company. Whereas with the tutoring site, we're just relying on like volume of ads because with the nanny site, you have to be more careful. You have to build their trust as well and let them know exactly how the nannies are safe. You have to interview the nannies. So it's a lot more invested in that. So it's important with what type of business you choose to think about those things because you might be waiting 10 years for a website to come up, or you might be waiting 3 months like we were with this other website.
okay. And I know you said you put ads up on Indeed. So let's say, for example, you want tutors, you put it up on Indeed. What other websites do you put the ad up to, hire?
LinkedIn, those are the two main ones. And that's another thing about running a business. I think any kind of business, but particularly tech, is that we're relying on a lot of software companies, a lot of third parties. For example, we were relying solely on PayPal for payment gateway processing for the academic site. And then PayPal decided they didn't want to work with us anymore because we were assisting students with their essays and they thought that it was a form of cheating, but they didn't realize that we're giving them samples, etc. And so they retracted our agreement. and they totally shut us down and didn't release like $12,000 in money. So then we were stuck with no payment processor. So it's always important. I always have a backup now for anything that I have, even Indeed, because very legitimate companies, like I think even Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels is it's the fastest growing small business as a startup company in history. It went from like 0 to like 30 million in like less than a year. And he wasn't allowed to promote anymore on Facebook. His payment gateway system shut him down. So they'll just come up with reasons to shut you down because they don't want to expose themselves, even if the reasons are unreasonable. So it's always important to have two. Like you always want to have a backup. And like a lot of people get banned from like Instagram, like influencers get banned, or people on TikTok, they'll post something that TikTok doesn't like, and they'll just totally shut down that account where, they had 1 million followers and they worked so hard to get those, even paid money to get those, and it's their livelihood now, and they'll just shut them down. So it's always so important to create don't put your eggs in one basket and create diversity in the companies you're working with. And at one time, Indeed was actually basically had a monopoly on it. And when we were shut down temporarily by Indeed because we had a Filipino VA IP address, so we had our VA virtual assistant was logging into Indeed to monitor the applicants, and because their IP address is in the Philippines, they thought that we were being hacked or something, and so they shut us down. And I contacted them. I'm like, no, that was my VA, and they weren't going to let us put our ads back up. So I had to like open a new account. So I always make sure, even though it's most cost effective in the short term to go with the company that's charging you the least, it's always important to leverage other companies and to diversify. So we put some money with Indeed, we have some ads up with LinkedIn, and we want to have relationships with multiple in case Indeed says you logged in from Vancouver one day and now you're logging in from Miami, we're shutting you down. That's happened to me so many times, man. It just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's small
Why?
business owner.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with logging in from a different city?
They, they have so many people hacking them. So they'll create an account on Indeed and they'll put ads up for like, they'll tell you that you need to pay in order to get a subscription and to start getting work, for example. So if it's a writing company, they'll put an ad up and they'll say, come write for us. And then they'll send them to a page where they register, and it costs them like $10 a month or whatever. So that's a way for them to get people to pay money by they're putting those ads up on Indeed, or even just get their emails. So you got all these scam artists and hackers who are trying to do these sneaky things, and that costs honest business people like me. They're always put under suspect, or even having ads up. Now people are always suspicious. Are we a scam or whatever? Because there's so many scam artists out there. Or another situation is with our phone carrier, Ring Central. We've had about half our numbers not being able to use these for SMS for the past month and a half or so, because you have to now go through this lengthy approval process to get those numbers approved for texting. You have to prove to them that you're not a scam artist. You have to send them samples of your texts, because everybody's using voice over IP lines now to just spam with phone calls, spam with texts. And so for honest business people, we still have to go through these steps to prove that we're not scam artists. And that's why I've switched to Zoom now, Zoom phone, and I'm trying to transfer everything over from Ring Central to them, but you also have to go through the full process with them. Problem is they'll shut you down and then they'll ask for the information, and then get them that information takes a month or more. It's a very challenging thing for business owners dealing with a lot of these large corporation software companies, and PayPal is the most evil one. Ring Central, they're just they've got the worst support there. And then you got obviously good companies. Like I don't have a problem with LinkedIn and all that, but usually it's just somebody like a lower level worker pressing the button to disapprove you, and they don't want their jobs to be at risk, so they're not going to take any chances. But even if you're good, honest, a business person, you could get shut down by them for doing nothing wrong. And it's sort of similar to if you had a storefront and somebody came and burnt it down, and then you had to like scramble to get everything back up. But because it's a business, it's this online business, it's less tangible. So they think that if they're doing these things like shutting it down, that it doesn't really affect people, but it affects people's livelihoods. Man, like I had a hard time about 3 years ago with stuff like this happening. Like when PayPal shut me down, like I had no payment gateway, I had no way to process payments. And then Google delists you just because that's understandable. They rank you higher if people approve of it more, and lower if they don't. But it's so important to diversify, because at any moment a business owner could get shut down by an arbitrary decision by a lower level employee at one of these larger tech companies.
Cool, cool. I want to ask, can you give us like a rundown of, a very busy day in your life? What would that
Yeah,
consist of?
yeah. I mean, like that really became a focus for me 2 years ago when I became a single dad. So running these companies and raising a daughter she was a baby. She was 18 months old when I became a single father. And you have a lot less time to work when something like that happens. You have to adjust with those things. And so a busy day for me now is not the same as a busy day for me a couple of years ago, because I've become very good at being exceptionally efficient with my time
Mm-hmm.
and making adjustments to my schedule. I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. If I don't, I'm screwed over, because that's the time I have when my daughter is still sleeping to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So a busy day 2 years ago would have been like waking up at like 8 a.m. When my baby woke up crying and needing milk and whatever, and then having our nanny come and working in my office trying to get emails answered, probably 2 or 3 hours of just emails and getting caught up with that, coordinating with developers and everything on Skype, and checking logo creation or um, interface stuff for our website design stuff from the graphic designers on freelancer.com. And then spending some time with my daughter if she just can't take it anymore. She wants to see me. She's pounding on the door. And then uh, basically just trying to find a way to get work done while being there for my daughter, because I was actually at this time living in Mexico. So I try to sneak out and go work in the lobby at our apartment building. And the nanny would be upstairs there taking care of our daughter. But that juggling act of being a father and an entrepreneur, it took its toll. But it's 90% of mentality. You gotta find a way to make it happen. And I mean, when you think about it, we're a lot more fortunate than a lot of people, just based on living in a developed country. And so it didn't take me long to stop making excuses. And a big part of that was reading great books and learning from others. And one of those books was How to Stop Worrying. It's something along those lines by Dale Carnegie. Um, How to Stop Worrying. I'll go through stories of people who had like major health problems or whatever, and this is what they did to stop worrying. Basically doing things like exercising or taking one day at a time, or if you have a ton of tasks, just seeing them like as one piece of sand coming to the hourglass instead of freaking out over all the things there are to do. And then I started really focusing on, I read a book called Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod or Hal Elron or something like that. And it talked about how to have a really effective morning routine so that you're efficient and strong and energetic throughout the day. And so I started waking up at 5 a.m. My daughter would wake up at 8 a.m. That gave me 3 hours there. I would do yoga. I would have a cold shower. I do meditation, affirmations, visualizations, have a good breakfast, take my supplements for my physique and general health, like amino acids and like amino acids. What else? omega 3s and a bunch of other stuff that my trainer gave me, and just being so efficient with scheduling, working everything out to the 30 minutes. And before I knew it, I was able to get everything that I needed to get done within the hours that I had them. And that allowed me also to have time with my daughter in the evening after the nanny was gone. So I didn't want her to be a girl raised by nannies. And then things, life gets easier. Having a baby in that situation is super tough. I was lucky the fact that my businesses were already pretty much automated in a lot of ways, but there was business was actually taking a dive at that time. So I had the divorce, I had single fatherhood, and my businesses were diving all at the same time. And a lot of people can tell you that those things that are challenging often happen all together. And you just keep going, you just got to fight through it. And eventually my daughter, she got older. She's now 3 years old. She's going to daycare. So my routine now is not quite as hectic.
She's making her own breakfast and everything.
I wish. I mean, she tries. She'll stir the eggs or whatever, and she's gonna be a good cook hopefully soon, so I don't have to make it. But she's now a lot easier, and she doesn't cling to my leg and doesn't let me walk anywhere. She just wants me to. She used to want me to just stay in one place and just like cuddle with her and just hang out with her, but now she lets me walk around even when she's up. But I make sure I get those about 30 minutes are dedicated to that morning ritual, having a cold shower and all that stuff I mentioned. And then I give myself an hour block for emails now. So I've condensed the 2 hours down. And something that I can't really explain very well, but something that's really, really, really helped me was kind of imagining that my mouse cursor was automatically doing all these things for me. So I was trying to think more with my subconscious instead of being so involved with it that I'm so focused on the task that I start to like trail off. And it's very easy to lose track of what you're doing if you're not super aware of what you're doing. So you can get one task done in a matter of like, say, 10 mouse clicks. So I just follow the mouse around. I'm not thinking too much because it's so automated at this point because I've done it so much. And I'll get things done like clockwork. It would be so much more efficient when I'm able to think like that with my subconscious to get these things done. Because if you think about it, our subconscious is controlling a lot of what we do. When we walk, we're not thinking, okay, right leg, left leg, right leg, left leg. Or when we breathe, we're not like thinking, okay, in, out. Or the blood is pumping through our bodies without us thinking about it. Our heart is beating without us thinking about it. So what if we try to use that same subconscious technology that we're built with to get things done? And so I'm an efficient machine, and my daughter gives me that motivation. My daughter makes it so that I need to find a way. And with a big enough why, you can accomplish any how. That's not my quote, but somebody else said that. But with the big enough reason to do something, you're going to find out how to do that. So that's why I'm now a morning person. I used to wake up at 10 or 11 o'clock. Now I wake up at 5 o'clock. I get 4 days of working out in there. And I drop my girl off at school. I go to the gym. I come home, and then I have my protein shake. Then I just get down to work and I focus. And I find time for meditation between each substantial task. I take 1 minute. I'm like, it's 1 minute. Just breathe. Don't think. Just breathe in and out. Focus on the breath. I read books about meditation like that. That's a big part of my life. My spirituality. It's a big part of the reason why I'm moderately successful, at least right now, and future will be super successful in business, is because of those strategies. And that allows me to get grounded after each task. So I'm just not like spinning my wheels, which is really easy routine to get into. If you've got 10 tasks, you got to get them done. You got them scheduled out, and you give yourself a minute in between each thing. You're going to finish that next thing twice as quick. And so my routine now is getting up at 5, 3 hours work, my morning routine, getting her ready for school, driving her to school, going to the gym, coming home, and pounding out work because I got to pick her up at 4:30. And I don't want her to be at school too long, missing Papa. And I know more than 8 hours, she's going to start going crazy. And I get her home. We go outside, we play on the bouncy castle, or, we go to the beach, or, we do whatever. And I give her that time. I make sure that's so important for me, is to make sure she knows that she's the most important thing. I don't answer my phone. People know I'm with my family, or I'm with my girl. when it's evening. I'm with my girl when we have our daughter and Papa Day. You know, fortunately, recently her mother is now playing a bigger role, and she's at least seeing her like a day and a half per week. Before there was 3 4 months at a time where she wasn't even in the same city.
Mm.
That's effed up, man. Like, so I gotta take the cards that I'm dealt with, and I've created a happy life for my daughter, a very happy life for my daughter. I mean, it's worked for me in a lot of ways, but I'm happier now than I would be if I didn't have that motivation to get my act together in a big way and to get that business going and being successful and being there for my daughter at the same time.
Mm. I'm sure she's happy. Her daddy's a millionaire, so you know what
Yeah,
kid is not gonna be happy.
got a lot of opportunity. She's got opportunity for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean a couple years ago I used to wake up really, really early too, like around 5 a.m. too. It just felt like I got more stuff done throughout the day than waking up a little later. But now, you know, a couple years down the line, I don't know, for some reason, when I do wake up a little later, let's say maybe 7, I have more energy throughout the day because I woke up a little later or I got a little bit more sleep. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out and figure out that.
I mean, of course, it depends on when you go to bed. Like for me, I'm in bed by 9 o'clock every night.
Wow,
I'm pop.
that's early. Wow.
Well, my daughter goes to bed then, so I figure I had to make that adjustment too. If I'm gonna get up at 5, I gotta go to bed at 9. So if I'm up till 10, then it's pretty tough, and I find myself getting up a little bit more like 5:30 or 6.
Mm. So so
But
so
it's
you
a lot.
have.
What's
Sorry,
that?
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's a lot to do with these books. Like you hear about these people doing these incredible things. Like, I don't know if you know this guy, David Goggins, but this
Yeah.
guy, he's done Hell Week twice in the military. I mean, basically, he's like his motivation is he would say, "You don't want to get up at 5 o'clock, man. Stop being a little." That's what he would say. And so I think about that. I read that stuff. Then I get up at 5 o'clock. Like David Goggins in my head was my alarm clock for a long time, and then it just becomes a habit once you get into that habit. But if you're going to bed at 10 or 11, man, that's hard. You can't, you still need your sleep. And people have different amount of sleeps amount of sleep time that they need. For me, it's like 7 hours. Some people might need 9 or something to feel like they're fully functioning. So if you're one of those lucky ones, or some people like Napoleon slept apparently 4 hours. And some people can sleep 5 or 6 hours and still feel like totally energized. I wish I was one of those people, but I find my sweet spot is 7 hours and I'm ready to go. But I do have a nap as well in the afternoon, like once in a while.
Mm.
I'm starting to become a grandpa with naps.
Grandpa, huh? Not yet, not yet. You have a long way to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Any more thoughts? Anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I don't think so. I think that we covered a lot, and I think that for people who are listening who want to start a business, I would say the most important thing is to read books and listen to David's podcast and like start developing those structures in your life. Make a habit of it. When I was if you met me at age 21, uh I mean I was out of it. I was just smoking weed all the time and playing video games. And I mean I was a low life loser back then. It took me a few years to discover things, and I got into a big car accident when I was 22 or 23.
Yeah.
uh no, I guess it was 21. I got in a big car accident that totally turned my life around. I stopped hanging around with the wrong people. I started becoming a huge like college. I was studying college. When I entered college, they thought that I was an ESL student because I couldn't write. Within 2 years after college, I won the Alberta uh, arts and culture writing category. I won for the newspaper, the best, or sorry, second place in the arts and culture writing category. So within a few years, I went from writing like an ESL person to writing to the point where I could win an award for writing. And so hopefully you don't need a catalyst. Like people listening who are in that situation would need a catalyst, like getting into a big car accident to put them on the right track. But that was the point where I started to really focus on the right things. And after like 7 or 8 years after that, that's when I started my own business. Took a gradual progression to get there to the point where I was able to run a business. And that was just basically so simple as educating myself and reading books and following the footsteps of people who had done what I want to do. So that's a big thing. And then if you wanted to, as we were discussing before about the E2 visa coming to the United States, it's just about breaking down a process like that and taking it step by step. And I can share with David a link to where to find the proper application, and maybe you'll post that if you wanted to on your Instagram or whatever. And then people can go directly to that instead of paying a lawyer $12,000 just to get an answer of where to fill out the form. They'll just ask you for that information anyways. Might as well just put it on the form yourself and save yourself the 12K. But I think that covers it. And I just appreciate again you have me on the show. It gives me a great opportunity to um, help people out first of all, and also get more exposure for Right Pal and myself, and get more acquainted with using my chops when it comes to doing business rather than just using my fingers to type stuff.
Yeah, I feel that you're gonna write a book soon. Is that in the works?
I'm working on a novel. That's for fun though. That's about the deforestation in Amazon and about how like McDonald's or some corporation comes and they chop down the rainforest, ends up killing this guy's family who are living there, part of a tribe. And then his whole mission is to seek revenge on the Brazilian president, but he falls in love with her daughter, so it complicates things. So this is one of the books I'm working on. But as far as like nonfiction, I don't really have anything in the works, but maybe that's
Or
something I should.
or I can give you an idea. Or you can write on a writing book, maybe how to, be a better writer, and you know,
Yeah,
stuff along those lines.
yeah.
How to
There's a
start a
lot of
business, write a book on that,
yeah. I think probably a good one might be uh, how you can be a single father and make your business grow.
It's a good
Pretty
one.
niche down.
Yeah,
25% of parents are fathers. So I think that would be one probably. That's I come up with ideas with you. So I think that would be a good one. How to be a father, a single father, and grow your business at the same time.
yeah, yeah. That's a sector that is needed as well too,
Yeah, a
in
lot of
terms of information.
yeah. There's a lot of emphasis put on single mothers, but people don't realize 25% of single parents are fathers, and we need the support just as much as they do.
Wow, wow. Yeah, I enjoy talking to you. Crazy enough, this is my longest interview, so clearly, there's chemistry there.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I love your questions, and it just lets me dig deep into. I love the questions that are more personal too. Like you get to the heart of it, like with the goals, like the goals that I have, and what a typical day is. I like these. I like those questions.
Yeah, I like to get into the mind of people. Once you get into the mind, you understand how they think, then you understand why they are where they are and why they make certain decisions in their life and so forth. So, I like to get into the mind of people who I'm talking to or interviewing. And maybe it might even feel like therapy, but it's good. It's good. Yeah, so I guess that's all I got for today. Thank you once again, Philip, for tuning in. And if you're able to watch it, up to this long, I'm thankful that you're able to watch it. I know most people might not watch it. People like clips. But there'll be clips as well too. I'll break it up for you guys as well too. And see you guys next time. All right, peace.